As the southern border crisis worsens, Governor Greg Abbott is taking matters into his own hands, banning certain transportation of migrants who could be infected with COVID. This after COVID positive illegal immigrants were released into some border communities, causing major outbreaks. Where's the White House? Well, that's right, they're demanding U.S. citizens put masks back on their faces while turning a blind eye to the influx of people across our southern border who may very well be infected in large numbers. Joining me now to discuss, former DHS Acting Deputy Chief of Staff, Lora Ries. Lora, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me on.
What do you make of this right now at the southern border, given the COVID crisis and how it's being treated in the rest of the country?
Well, it's complete chaos, and the Biden administration has been extremely inconsistent with respect to COVID and requirements and mandates and lockdowns, et cetera, for American citizens, and yet opening the door and opening our border for anyone to come in across the southern border, no matter whether they have COVID, and seemingly some do now, and no matter where they go. And so either we're in a pandemic and a health risk, or we aren't. And this administration needs to be consistent about this.
And it seems like the numbers of just illegal crossings alone every month are showing the trend only going up, that even the summer lull or the summer drop has not been happening, at least based on the numbers we saw in June. June of 2020, 30,836 encounters at our southern border. Now, granted, that was during the pandemic, but June of 2021, 188,829. I'm assuming when you worked at DHS, Laura, you never saw a number like that, did you?
No, these numbers are historic, and this is not seasonal. These numbers should be going down by this month, by June, because it is so hot. And now agents are seeing people die from the heat and the humidity, and they do their best that they can to rescue people. But the administration, the policies, the messaging that it continues to give encourages more people to come here illegally, endangering their own lives and endangering the agents' lives. And
Go ahead.
Go ahead. The administration needs to pause and self-examine and change its messaging and change its policies.
Well, what I was going to ask you is, do you think there's any realistic hope that they'll do that? Because based on everything that we've been seeing, and when I was at the border a few months ago and speaking to members of Border Patrol, increasingly it seems like the White House, the Biden administration, Kamala Harris, the vice president who was the border czar, have to be aware of what's going on here. They're certainly seeing the numbers. They must be able to get some sense from speaking to people who are at DHS now or who are working on for Border Patrol, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, that this is such a mess. How can one think that this isn't just they don't care and maybe they actually prefer this to be the end state at the border? Because I don't see how they're trying to stop it. And that's, I guess, what I'm really trying to get at with you.
I agree. And this seems very intentional. And unfortunately, it takes something to happen personally to one of these leaders or to happen to several people for them to change their policies. We're seeing this right now, finally, with the defund, now refund the police effort. After so many people were needlessly killed, and after defund the police movement, you're now starting to hear police chiefs and now the mayor of DC start to backpedal and refund police. Unfortunately, how many American lives have to be lost due to an open border, whether it's the drugs that are crossing, the poisonous fentanyl, the criminals who are crossing, COVID cases who are crossing, terrorists? What is it going to take? And unfortunately, it should not take that, but too often it does.
I mean, earlier this week, the Biden administration unveiled a 21-point plan outlining its full strategy on immigration. Some are saying too little, too late. What do you think of the Biden, at least the official plan on immigration? What's this going to mean?
Well, the Biden administration keeps calling this fair, orderly, and humane. And they keep repeating those words in the hopes that Americans will believe it. But Americans see what's happening every day at the border, and they know nothing about this is fair or orderly or humane. And so the administration continues to press ahead with these bad policies. They continue to entice unaccompanied children to come to the border and then shower benefits on them. And so it's just one of the many tactics that we'll keep repeating these words, and eventually you'll repeat it and then you'll believe it. Unfortunately, I think the COVID example is so stark in terms of inconsistency and what Americans have been through the past year and a half. Americans are having none of it.